But let's elaborate on Mulan. So what was kind of like holding up the process, and kind of what was the fix?
So Mulan was a character that was following a few very successful other characters, Jasmine, Belle, Ariel. And those were all characters that were not content with where they were at the beginning of the movie. They wanted to make a change. And so Mulan immediately fell into that groove because it was a well-worn and very successful groove. And the problem with that, so the go-to was that Mulan was she was in a situation where she didn't have a lot of agency. She didn't have a lot of say in her destiny. So she was in the first version betrothed to somebody, and it was an arranged thing, and she didn't know who it was, and she was very anxious about this whole situation. So in and amongst that, as the setting for the opening of the film, war breaks out and her father's called to go, and so she does everything she does now. She stole his armor against his will, and she rode away to impersonate him and to take his place so that he wouldn't have to go. The problem being, and it seems so simple and obvious, but we didn't see it for over a year, was that she's not leaving for one reason, she's really leaving for two. In leaving, she avoids that arranged situation. So it diluted
Like a
everything.
less heroic choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's an escape in a way. Yeah.
So the hardest thing, I realized it one night, I was like, oh my God, like if we don't get rid of that one thing, then it's never gonna work. This whole thing's never gonna work. So I came in and I talked to my producer, Pam Coates, and I explained that we have to make Mulan okay with being in an arranged situation. And that was a tough thing to swallow. So she said, and she understood the logic of it, and I said, I'm going to go in the room today, the writer's room, and I'm going to kill every single thing that doesn't have it, like, she leaves for one reason, because she loves her father enough that she'll risk this. And any other reason, I will kill. So all that morning, we started talking about things, I'm like, nope, that's out. And then we talked about something else, and I'd say, no, that's out. And it was a very frustrating day for everybody except for me. For me, it was kind of oddly satisfying because it had been a year, and I was like, oh, I was finally like getting rid of these things. But one of the things we reconciled was just because she's okay, so it means that when she goes to the matchmaker, she has to really try. And again, that was hard for them. They're like, but she shouldn't be okay with this. And I'm like, yeah, but back then she was, and she's like her place in this family means something to her. And so just because she's trying doesn't mean she's good at it. And so that was I think, the way we settled it, was that she goes, but it's a disaster. And it hurt for that day, but the very next day, everything suddenly started to work. And then we all felt really good. And even the writers were like, oh my God, this was the right thing to do. Suddenly we could flow forward and start getting